Hey there, in this video, we are going to discuss what to expect at a real estate closing here in Colorado, where it will happen, who will be involved, and when this will happen. So let's get started. I'm Tony Anderson, broker owner of Real Estate of Colorado, 24 years in the business, and we appreciate if you would hit that little subscribe button and ring the bell. It helps us with the algorithms. I always want to say alligators or alligators, but here in Colorado we don't have those. So hit the little button and we'll get started. So what is closing? Well, you open escrow when you get under contract on a property. The earnest money check goes to usually a title company, and they open an escrow account with that earnest money. So they get the earnest money, they get the all the documents, the offer, the fully executed contract, any amend extends, counter proposals, and then title gets to work. So that's how that works. Earnest money is yours and stays yours, and it gets applied to the closing costs or the down payment at closing. So that's what earnest money is. Also, you want to remember to have your ID, which can be a photo ID like a passport. Most people just use their driver's license, but that's what you'll use as your driver's license or your passport. Cash at closing is something that you'll have at the closing table. It'll either be a check or a wire. Don't bring cash. Okay, they don't allow cash anymore. The closer is usually a title person that will sit at the end of the table. In Colorado, attorneys are not required. Buyers and sellers usually sit across from each other at the title company. Attorneys are welcome, and they sometimes look over things. But here in Colorado, we're not an attorney state. Some states like the Carolinas and Nashville area in Tennessee, those are attorney states where each one has their own attorney. They have their own title companies, and they don't talk to each other very much. It's a lot more fun here in Colorado. So we talk to each other. In the title company, the titles are underwritten by big companies like Stewart Title and different title companies like that, and they have attorneys. So you'll see a lot of papers. You'll see a stack of papers. Your lender's also going to be there, probably at the side of the table with you and your realtor. So you have two sides of the table, realtors and their clients, and the lender, if it's the buyer. And then on the other side, you'll see the realtor representing the seller and the sellers. And at the head of the table is the title person, and they're shuffling papers and going over everything with you. And sometimes the lender will go over your loan docs, and sometimes the closer will do that. The title people are great, and they'll answer any questions that you have. So don't be afraid to ask questions at the closing table. You're going to have numbers ahead of time. So a good lender and realtor is going to, if you're the seller, they're going to have a net sheet for you as to what you're going to net after everything. And if you're the buyer, what you're going to need to bring to closing in the way of funds. So like I said, be ready to sign lots of docs. The buyers will have more to sign because they have the real estate papers to sign just like the sellers do, but also the loan docs. The two realtors will have a few things to sign also. And on a good day, the buyer's loan funds will already be there, and closing should only take about an hour. Because we are a funding at the table state, show me the money state, or whatever you want to call it. We don't close an escrow and everybody shakes hands and then hopes the money comes a day or a week later or whatever. We fund at the table here. So to recap a little bit, we're not an attorney state. Attorneys are not required to be at the closing. And we fund at the closing table. no funds, no closing. Okay, so that's kind of how it works here. Sometimes the wire will take a little while, and they just say the wire is on its way. It's like an airplane circling, waiting to land, but the wire's, there. This can be nerve-wracking, and you need that money to buy the next property. Closings usually take place at the title company, like I said, but sometimes the real estate offices or at an attorney office. When a property is occupied, the seller will want to wait a few days after closing to vacate. And be prepared to give the seller a day or two, because like I said, we're a show me the money state. So it's not fair in the eyes of the sellers here in Colorado to ask to be able to occupy the property right after closing. Because if you did, that means the seller has to move out before they get their money. And so other states that's okay, but here it doesn't work so well, because here it's like, show me the money and then we'll move. We're already going to be boxed, packed, ready to go, but give us 24 hours. We want to make sure it closes first, so we don't have to move back into our home and all the hassles and expense of that if it doesn't close. So that's kind of the what, where, who, and when of closing. Usually they take place about 30 to 45 days after you're under contract. So congratulations, you're under contract. Now, what do we do? Well, in those 30 days, what's going to happen is that the inspection is going to happen. The lender's going to assign an appraiser to come and appraise the property. Meanwhile, the buyers have their due diligence to look at the property disclosure, to look at any permits and receipts and things called due diligence that the seller might provide. And that whole process takes about 30 days. And then you get the keys to your new home. So I hope this helps. We really appreciate if you'd hit the subscribe button. And if you have any questions about the process of closing and how long it takes, give us a call, 303-810-8382. Tony and Cindy Anderson, Real Estate of Colorado, 303-810-8382.